Oh, right, yeah. Um, yeah, I thought we'd do some more Norm, but I picked this one as well because I want to do some more Ron Bennington because he is actually well funny as well. Um, and I know that that's Ron and Fez in it is the other show. Like I do know of who he is, but I've never listened to any Ron and Fez. And I know it's kind of like Opie and Anthony's um brother show or sister show, whatever. Um, so yeah, request some Ron Bennington if there's good Ron and Fez things because I don't know anything from Ron and Fez. Like I say, I do know who they are, and yeah, I have seen Ron Bennington on other things, like more recent things. But yeah, but also Norm. Let's go.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks. That's real nice. Does this work? Does this sound? Does
Yeah,
sound,
we.
it doesn't sound like much.
I know it doesn't sound like much because we're like.
Where are my cans?
No.
I don't get cans.
No cans for you
God
here.
damn.
This. No, you don't work with cans
You guys,
on your
they
show.
don't know what cans mean.
No, of course.
Can you
Well,
explain to the folks?
you would call them headphones, but in the 1950s radio, we called them cans. Norm Macdonald has a show that premieres on Netflix Friday, September 14th. And I know you're out doing some publicity. Were you able to get any? Was anybody paying attention to what's going on here?
Run.
Well, isn't it always funny when whoever it is ends up in the barrel for a little while? I mean, when it's not you, it's always really, really interesting
Yeah,
that
that's right.
suddenly the press is paying attention to you, you know?
You mean that's a good thing?
Yes. Well, I wonder, do you view it as a good thing or
No, I've never believed that all press is good press thing
Yeah.
because of Hitler. I feel it hurt his career.
You know what the thing is, like with everybody, it worked for a while. You know what I mean?
Yes, right,
for a while, like people are like, hey, I'm hearing a lot about you, Hitler.
Yeah.
And then it turns bad. You know?
Yeah.
But it always does turn bad at some point, no matter who the
I mean, isn't that the case with everyone? You build them up just to knock them down. Hitler's no different.
person is. Everybody, you know, has to be that guy for a while.
I suppose. Well,
Yeah.
You're saying I'm that guy?
You're that guy for, you know, for at least a couple days and it'll go
Sure,
away.
yeah.
But you have to today with social media be in lockstep with the mob. That's the thing. You know,
You're saying that's a good thing.
no, it's the only way to survive.
I
We're
see.
like
Right.
we're antelopes in the jungle, and you just want to move, find out where the lion is. That's and then move in the other direction.
Well, what do you feel, Ron? The conventional wisdom always used to be, if you do something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
then you apologize, you show contrition, and the public forgives you. Now that's out the window.
Right.
And now Trump said it to his friend apparently the other day. Deny, deny, deny. So the people who've done bad things just deny it. And that's their own. And I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? By the way, I never did anything bad.
Yeah, wasn't it Liam Neeson where he was honest? Have you ever had a racist thought? And he's like, yeah, I have. Told the story where he had a racist thought and everyone basically, tried to ruin his career. And it's like, for what? Being honest. That he said, yeah, I did once. But yeah.
That's the perfect angle to have.
Yeah.
And I'm as outraged as everyone else, and let's keep moving along.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's
Of
really
course I'm
funny
outraged.
about this? I've seen a couple episodes. They sent me a couple episodes of your
Yeah.
show. It's the exact opposite of controversial.
Yeah, I know.
It's a really funny, sweet show. You're on there. I watched the Jane Fonda one. Probably the most controversial person of our lifetime.
Sure.
And yet it was just a fun, sweet half hour.
Yeah. I'm not, I'm not interested in. Yeah, that's the funny thing is that I have no interest in politics or I'm just a clown. You know what I'm saying? And what I think happened was. Jon Stewart, who was a great friend of mine and still is, wonderful comedian, fantastic comedian, and became a political figure of not inconsiderable weight in this country, for the good, I think, But he was a very peculiar, he's had massive intellect, strong viewpoint, well-informed, and funny. Hard to find those, And he had a fantastic show. But what he spawned, sometimes original geniuses spawn a bunch of fucking shit.
Right.
And so suddenly every talk show had to be, every talk show host had to be a political pundit, And the last time I did the Jimmy Fallon show, Donald Trump was the host, and I was a guest rather, and Jimmy mussed up his hair, Jimmy Fallon.
Right.
And I remember we were watching from backstage, and we're like, oh, didn't think of anything of it. And then it was a big thing. How dare Jimmy Fallon muss up as if Jimmy Fallon is Tim Russert or,
right. Yeah.
It's not a. Not a timely reference since he died 15 years ago. But he's no Douglas Edwards. So I said, well, that's Jimmy. It's absurd,
Yeah.
And I didn't watch Johnny Carson. I was too young. But I don't think Johnny Carson addressed Vietnam or Watergate, you know. Things way bigger than nowadays. But that's the way comedy has turned. So and it's fine, But I'm no good at it because I don't know anything about politics. And so it is a little ironic. I don't like using the word ironic because it turns out I always use it wrong.
Sure, yeah.
But we Ted Sarandis, who's the head of the Netflix, and became a friend of mine in the unlikeliest of ways, but I talked to him all the time about the show, and I said, Ted, I want to give you a show that people can watch 10 years from now. I really, and I do that with my specials also. I don't do very many specials, but I want them to be about themes that will live on, and I don't want to make fucking Murphy Brown, and because those Dan Quayle jokes.
Yeah.
Not so funny.
Although she's back now.
She's back now, yes. And I think it'll work because now sitcoms have turned into this. When I was a kid, a sitcom would have once in a while a very special episode of Family Ties. And everybody make jokes about it. And now a sitcom, every motherfucking episode is special.
Yeah, Anybody could die at any time if you're on TV. No one is spending their money if they're on a TV show.
That's like Lenny Clark, I remember.
Yeah.
He got the show Lenny.
Yeah.
Funniest motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know Lenny. And we were at the Montreal Comedy Festival. I met him. And everybody had their 5 minutes of going up on stage, trying to get the perfect 5 minutes. And meanwhile, none of the agents or managers were there. They were all at strip clubs. And so then at night, everybody's there at the Delta Hotel, and Lenny Clark would just be running around the room, grabbing the telephone, going, hey, it's the president of show business. He wants to talk to you over here. And then he got the show.
Yeah.
But his agent told him to buy a giant house, because so he bought a big fucking giant house, and he told me he paid two what do you call them, mortgage?
Yeah.
That's how well I'm doing. He paid 2 months of his mortgage, and then he had to sell his house.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy, Lenny Clark. Goddamn. I just seen him. You seen him? You know.
No, I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, he's one of the best of them.
He was like, one of the best.
Yeah.
Just naturally funny guys.
Yeah.
Right. But I saw him. He was dressed real nice. I said, "God damn, you look good. You lost weight and shit." He goes, "I married rich."
Norm Macdonald.
I like you, by the way, a lot, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Do your show. I've always been a fan.
Norm Macdonald has
I don't know if you
a
remember
show.
meeting me or not, but go ahead.
No, I don't remember meeting you.
Okay.
Where?
It was at the Boston Catch a Rising Star.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the New York Catch a Rising Star. My apologies. But go back to your paper.
No. I just suddenly is everybody impressed that I don't remember meeting Norm? They're like, hey.
By the way, this is his paper.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. the same guy who set up the sound for this room gave me this paper. I'm going to bring this up, though, because, now we're ball busting a little bit.
Yeah.
When you had Jane Fonda on and you have your little blue cards, you had a little shake going. You were a little nervous.
I get nervous as a
motherfucker. Do you really?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I was really, really surprised to see that. So you're a giant fan of hers.
Yeah. You know how it is like anybody that was a celebrity before I got in show business.
Exactly right.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then anybody since, they could be the biggest star in the world. I go,
right.
What the fuck do I care?
That is 100% true. I've had that experience so many times here. But
I talked to OJ one time. He's like, and he said, they're still the haters.
Yeah.
But he said 99% of people love the juice.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, he's not lying.
Yeah.
He's not lying. Because, you think if you saw the juice, maybe you think, I know I wouldn't, that you go up to him, you murderer, people don't do that.
No.
That takes a special type of person. What you do is like, Selfie!
Yeah.
So in his head, he thinks everybody likes him.
Yeah. Well, I was, obviously when he played football, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I didn't follow much after that.
Oh, you
so,
did?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with the news.
When you're asked, you say the only thing he's guilty of is being the best running back in the history of the NFL, as far as I know.
Adam is here with you today.
Adam Egan, my trusty sidekick.
He is your sidekick, and Adam, here's Mike. Your part of the desk is just a little lower than everyone else's.
Oh, sorry. That was a very nice touch. Yeah, the kids' table.
Yeah.
We gave him a smaller.
So how have you felt about the last week of publicity? You were inside and outside at the same time.
Oh, you mean the last day of publicity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Norm just did Stern, and I think he said everything he needed to say, and that he truly believes and feels, and all the people that are close to him know, that he just doesn't have the capacity to feel certain ways that I'm hearing conveyed on Twitter and some other places, and I think that Norm really did a great job. You did a great job clearing the air today.
I never got into comedy to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes people go at a show, they'll go, please attack my brother, make him feel like a piece of shit, because it's his wedding day.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't really like to do that. And then one time I did this roast of Bob Saget, and it became a sort of a thing because I didn't do roast jokes, because I don't like insulting people, and I certainly never got into show businesses to ever hurt anybody, and it just made me really, really sad when this thing happened, where you just ask question after question after question, and then I guess I slipped up and maybe said something that people took wrong, but I apologize to them, and it's the last reason I want to be on this earth.
Sure. And this kind of backlash happens so fast now because of social media, and Adam, I know you've been involved with the Comedy Store for a long time, but when Louis jumped up at the Comedy Cellar the other night, a couple weeks ago, the Cellar's taken a lot of heat from people who were not necessarily customers. You
Right.
know, people
Yeah.
on the other side of the country or whatever. And we didn't, we never had that kind of thing happen before.
No.
Well, I'll tell you this,
Yeah.
and I did not know this, and maybe you do. Comedians have gone up against Louis.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I was talking to some
Comedians have said this guy should not be able to ever perform again.
Yeah, I mean, I taught. They all come.
If you're a murderer,
Yeah, and who said that? About that most people get into comedy because they're actually wanting to get into movies, or it's like a comedy becomes a gateway into the. So they'll come out and say it just so they make the right people happy and get in the next comedy kids movie or whatever. I'll see if I can find what did Norm Macdonald say that got that he had, because I said what did Norm Macdonald say, and it was like they got him fired from Saturday Night, like all these other different things, and I have to change how to say it. Say that he had to apologize for. No, oh, for God's sake, New York Times, you got to sign up to read this. Jesus, what is it? You can see that newspapers are a dying thing. None of them want you to read their thing, unless all I want to see is what he fucking said. It's a Down syndrome joke. But then didn't he after this turn it into, what, are you retarded? Oh wait, you can't say that no more. Well, you got Down syndrome?
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go.
sorry. I'm sorry. But if you're a murderer, you go to jail, and they let you off, whatever, 20 years later, and then you try to get a job as a busboy. And if the guy says, "I'm not hiring that guy, he murdered," and you go, but he did his penance, and now you give him a job. That's the humane thing to do. And people go, "Well, what about the murdered person?" And you go, "Well, of course, he got worse.
Yeah.
The guy that lost his life, he's doing worse." But it doesn't mean you can't forgive or it's impossible to forgive. I also don't feel anyone owes me an apology in public. I think personally that you owe an apology to anybody that you did ill to. You owe an apology to people that your actions hurt in a financial way or an emotional way. But nobody owes me an apology,
So that's where your shock about comedians comes from.
Yeah, because I don't understand why they're so, I guess I just don't understand how there can be no rules,
Mhm.
If the rules are drawn out and set down, then that's one thing. But I always thought the audience would decide whether you're an objectionable comic or even a good comic, And so Louis went up here at the Comedy Cellar, and the audience let him know. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there, but But if the audience don't like him, then the club won't book him. I mean, that's how things work. And just because your heart can break for more than one person at the same time, and and a person can do a bad thing, and you can feel sorry for that person while feeling worse for the person that had the bad thing done to them. This is all so self-evident. It's hard for me to unpack, but I wanted to use the word unpack.
Well, we also always think of comedians being 100% free speech and stuff like that. And I don't know whether you followed this at the New Yorker Festival, but they had Steve Bannon booked to come in and do an interview, and all the big comedians said, "I'm not going to be there if somebody interviews Steve Bannon." And it wasn't a thing of, hey, we're giving an award to Steve Bannon, but it was a chance for somebody from the New Yorker to interview him, and who knows what direction that would have went into. But people like Judd Apatow and I'm trying to think of who, Patton Oswalt I know was in it, and even Jimmy Fallon, they all said, well, we won't perform. We won't come in and do the panel. And I'm always surprised by that angle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel my brother's a foreign correspondent, and he did a 4-year documentary on neo-Nazis, and he interviewed all of the neo-Nazis in the world, from the Ernst Zundel all the way up to David Irving, and he didn't become a Nazi, he at all.
Right.
And so I think people go, I certainly wouldn't be a Nazi by hearing this, but Americans, other than me, Americans are just people that will believe whatever they hear, and I think that's nonsense. I think that if there was a Nazi, a person could go watch him because it seems like an entertaining thing. Just the same way you listen to a guy screaming on the corner of the street. You stop and listen to him.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I would agree with you, except for I learned from your show that Adam was in a cult for 3 years. So I guess some people are easily molded.
I just want to stress it was not a Nazi cult.
These cult leaders,
Yeah.
they have a good gig going.
Yeah, yeah.
And they all fall for the same trap, which is they start fucking everybody. And if
I
you
was
just
not in that cult
you're,
either.
you have a good life.
Yeah.
People show up. They give you all your worldly
everything.
goods. You got all the money, and then you start having sex with the ladies. Then, drunk with power, you're not even gay. You start having sex with the men as well, and and then people go, "Hey, I was watching Fred fuck your wife the other day, and I was thinking, any chance he's not Jesus?"
Yeah, we'll pause it here. But it's a very serious thing. I didn't actually realise this was going to be, because I do know that he come out and apologised, and actually I did know about the Down syndrome thing. That I'm sure it was saying retarded. But yeah, I mean, we see where this has got, how far this stuff has got. It's like the N word. Now, I have to say the N word. I can't say the actual word because I could legitimately go to prison in my country if I just said that word right now and someone reported it to the police. They'll literally come 10 man strong and put me in prison. There's people in prison for that. And when it first come across, I was kind of on the side of banning the N word because I thought, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the least that you could do, really. That's the least you could kind of. But then I remember people saying that the trouble is once you start, then it becomes everything. You can't say, well, if that got through, then why shouldn't this get through, and this get through, and this get through, and this get through, and all you're doing is it's like you get to where the UK is now, where people, I've said before, a girl is in prison or a woman is in prison in our country because she left work, and outside her work, not nothing to do with her work, but there was a protest going on. She worked in London or whatever. And so when she left work, she live streamed it onto her Facebook. Now, in the midst of the crowd of that live stream, someone said something racist. She's in prison now. She's in prison. Like, you can look their story up. She's in prison for that. She didn't say it. She literally just left her work. And that's the funny thing. The protesters that probably ain't got a job, that was saying racist things, not them that goes to prison. They're fine. Didn't track down who said it, which is bad enough as it is. Why are you putting people in prison for things they said is so Nazi. It's unbelievable. But they put her in prison. And she's like, she just happened to live stream that. Crazy. And that's the thing, it's like when it first started happening, I was kind of for it. Like, and that's why I think they started with the N word. Because the N word is the big one that everyone kind of went, fair dues, fair dues. We can stop saying that. But then it went to anything, like you can't say anything. And people just make it up on a whim. That this group can't say that word and this one can't say that word and you can't dress like that. That's another one. You can't, like, I couldn't come on here with a my mum went to Mexico. I got a great big sombrero. If I could come on here, people would be like, "Oh, that's cultural appropriation. You're not Mexican." It's like, yeah, it went ridiculous, and that's why I think they opened the door to that shit with the one word that everybody would go, "Fair dues." Like, yeah, fair enough. But now, literally, I have to say N word. I can't say, like, and that's what you say to children. Don't say the F word. You say the F word because they're children. You're just making all adults children. Yeah, but I can't say that. If I said it and then went, and like, all it would take is for someone to ring the police in this country and say, "I'll just watch the YouTuber say the N word," and they'd be kicking my door down. However, if you're a political paedophile, a Muslim paedophile, any type of paedophile, they ain't really gonna do nothing. Like, they're not really like, yeah, not really bothered about that. But if you say the wrong thing, you're gonna do time in prison for it. But yeah, enough of the state of the UK. But that was a great joke to end with as well. So I'll just see him fucking his wife. Any chance he's not Jesus? I don't think Jesus did that with his disciples. But yeah, that's part one. Sweet.